I want a world in which women are taken just as seriously and their ideas are considered just as equally as male's ideas. There's so many times that I've said something in a co-ed environment and then a guy says the exact same thing and it's like, wow, that was such a good idea, as if they didn't just say it. It's my pet peeve. But in a world where our ideas are taken equally and we're recognized for being equally as capable and equally as intelligent as men, I think is the dream point of equality for me.
Hi, I'm Emma Zareen, your host and a 16-year-old engineering student, policy enthusiast, and hopeful future STEM school survivor. Welcome to She Persists. Before we dive in, I just want to take a second to say how grateful I am for each of you. Every listen and every bit of support genuinely means the world to me. When I started She Persists, it started as a little dream to share real stories of young girls in STEM who are challenging norms, finding their place, and inspiring change. Seeing that idea come to life has been so rewarding, and honestly, it's just the beginning. If you've been enjoying these conversations, I'd love for you to be a part of our community by following this podcast. It's one of the best ways to help us grow, share even more incredible stories, and connect with a wider audience. And I hope the conversation doesn't end here. I hope you carry these stories with you and let them be a constant reminder that your voice truly makes a difference. Today on the She Persists podcast, I'm joined by two incredible students, Sophia and Viana from the Girls of Steel Robotics team. If you haven't heard of Girls of Steel before, they're an all-girls, completely student-run FIRST robotics program based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But what makes their team so special isn't just the robots that they build. It's the community that they've created. From mentoring younger teams and running global outreach programs to introducing thousands of students to STEM, they've built a model that's helping girls see themselves in engineering from elementary school all the way through high school. In this episode, we talk about how they first got involved in robotics, what it means to lead a program that supports girls across multiple age groups, and the impact of creating spaces where girls feel like they truly belong in STEM. We also dive into their international outreach, research work, and the ways they're redefining what leadership and innovation can look like in high school. This conversation is such a powerful reminder that building robots is only part of the story. What really matters is the confidence, representation, and opportunity that comes from it. So with that, let's get into it. Here are the Girls of Steel. Sophia and Viana, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, we're so happy to be here. We're both from Girls of Steel. I've been on Girls of Steel for, I think this is my 9th year.
This is my 3rd year.
So can you guys both just kind of introduce yourselves and share how you first got involved with Girls of Steel?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sophia. I'm currently in 12th grade, and I started Girls of Steel in 4th grade. I was recruited by a friend of mine that's a year older than me, and I've been here ever since. Right now, I serve as the outreach lead on Girls of Steel, so I am responsible for planning and executing all of our outreach events all across the Pittsburgh region and beyond.
And I'm Vienna. This is my 3rd year of Girls of Steel. I'm a freshman, and I started Girls of Steel when I was in 6th grade, actually from a summer camp. I started doing like the summer camps, and I was like, you know what, like this is actually really fun. I really enjoy it. And so, yeah. And I'm the first ladies lead. And basically, what I do is I advocate for women and girls pursuing careers in STEM.
That's amazing. So that's right up the alley of this podcast. So I'd love to hear more about that in a bit. Did either of you guys have experience with robotics prior to joining Girls of Steel, or was this your first experience?
I have no one in my family nor myself had any experience with robotics before. My dad didn't know how to like screw a light bulb in, so it was really like a big shock for me going into robotics, but now I love it. It's great. I actually got to change my friend's tire once, which if I had never done Girls of Steel, I would have never been able to do. So that was really nice.
For me, I had started doing robotics when I was like in my elementary school years, so around like 2nd grade. And first robotics, one of the lower levels for elementary school, it's called First Lego League. And I had started that for 2 years. And then I like leveled up to First Tech Challenge, which is like the age group for like middle schoolers.
That's amazing. So Vienna, were you on a different team prior to Girls of Steel?
Yeah, it was another organization called My STEM Academy, and then, as I, like, got older, then I moved to Girls of Steel.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, what would you say has been like the biggest difference between your previous team and the team that you're on right now?
So, something that was different was honestly, like, the environment, and also it was just, like, the things that we were working with. So, in First Lego League, also known as FLL, you work with, like, Legos and, like, spike kits, and then like, now you work with, like, metal and wood and plastic, and it's, like, more, like, hands-on type of work.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, when both of you first joined, what's something that really surprised you? Maybe something that felt different from other STEM experiences you've had in the past, or just something in general that you weren't sure about going into robotics?
I think for me, just because I was so young when I joined, everything was very big, but I think the biggest shock was how, like, inclusive everyone was. Like, normally, there will be someone in a group in my previous some experiences that is, like, the loud one that, shares an opinion, is really loud about it, which is not a bad thing. When you're a little quieter, it's more difficult to voice your own opinion, but I think coming to Girls of Steel, everyone is very, like, inclusive and everyone wants to hear your opinion. So if you're not a talker, someone would always ask me, like, "Sophia, what are your thoughts?" And then eventually I got loud enough that I could do it myself and I could do it for other people. So I think that was the biggest shock for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how you said that, someone was able to first provide that for you, and then you were able to be that person for other people and kind of help bring them out of their shells too. So, yeah, Vienna, what about you?
I think something that really stood out to me was that, like, I feel like whenever I was younger and I had first started doing robotics, I had first thought, like, "Oh, this is something that, like, that's, like, for boys," and that's, like, "But I'm a girl, like, that's not something that, like, I'm interested in." But later, as I mentioned earlier, when I started doing, like, the summer camps and I had actually Sophia as one of my mentors, I had learned that, that it was, like, a normalized thing that it's, like, something that girls and guys are both equally capable of doing, and that really like, sparked the passion for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you said, you were able to join this community of all girls who are really pursuing very similar passions as each other, and just kind of find this community where you guys are all able to kind of lift each other up and just continue to work towards one mutual goal. So, your program structure is incredibly impressive. You have 6 FLL teams, 4 FTC teams, and then your FRC team, of course, and it's all student led. So, what does that actually look like running that from the inside?
So now that I'm outreach lead, I actually oversee all this stuff. So basically, for our FLL teams, First Lego League teams, all of the mentors are from the FRC team. I was actually Vienna's mentor when she was in seventh grade and I was in, I think, like 10th grade. And that's how we first got to know each other, actually. So it's very interesting whenever you have like an adult leading you versus like someone who's closer to your age because you can be a little bit more friendly with them and you can also like show the kids what it means to be a good leader and what it means to include people when you get older. And I always try to like replicate that whenever I'm mentoring. And we have out of all those mentors, there are 2 people that are FLL leads, so they are responsible for all the logistical stuff, so planning competitions, like worksheets, curriculum, and they kind of float around all the teams, but there's usually 1 FRC girl assigned to 1 team so they can have a personal connection. And it also helps later when those girls go to FTC, it helps retain them because there's a huge drop off between girls who are like 13 to 14, and then, like, when you get to 16 and 17, there's a drop off, but if you are friends with a lot more people, you're less enticed to leave.
Yeah, and I think, what you were saying earlier about how you can be more friendly with them and, you're closer in age, I think that's also super valuable because I think there's a lot of value in seeing someone who's just a couple of years older than you doing these same things that you could be doing just a couple of years down the road. So I think that can also be really inspiring for younger kids. Vienna, what about you?
Well, to add on to that, I think from the perspective of, like, the change from being the person that is mentored to the one that's being or that's mentoring others. I think it's like it's really nice to to have someone closer to age because that really helps like with the learning aspect because I feel like sometimes whenever younger kids it's like having an actual adult or parent that's, like, telling you what to do, it can be a little scary, but whenever it's someone else that's closer age, you can, like, relate to them more and get concepts and skills across more easily and efficiently.
Yeah. And I think I forgot to mention this earlier, but I'm editing this episode afterwards. So if you guys ever need to like pause or think about a question, feel free. Or, if you don't want to both answer a question, then just let me know and I'll move on to the next one. But yeah. So since you're a completely student run team, how do you balance leading other teams, mentoring younger students, and still competing yourselves?
It's definitely really difficult, but the nice thing is that in preseason, we're not as technical. Everyone on our team does both business work and technical work. So not only do you you have a good mix of people, but you also it's just easier when you have more people that are available to help you with something. Like I can delegate really easily and I think about 60% of the girls on our team have a leadership role. So there are a lot of business leads available for us to delegate stuff to. So you're never approaching like something really big. You can break it down very easily. And that's very helpful. And also, we have amazing mentors that help us with stuff like organizing. So that's great.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. So, in both of your perspectives, why do you think it's so important to start supporting these girls in robotics when they're still at a very young age, like elementary and middle school?
Yeah. I think that it's really important to start, like, advocating it at such a young age because I feel like younger kids, whenever they see, um like other people, specifically boys, doing certain jobs and tasks like engineering or robotics, they think like, "Oh, that's like a boy thing to do." Like, and then they don't, and then that might like belittle themselves, like in their head, and they think like, "Oh, I'm like not good enough. I can't do this too." But like, and I think it's really important to to teach them like you're equally capable and make them believe in themselves too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, that's part of the reason I started this podcast because I think a lot of the times you don't get to hear from these young girls like you guys in high school and in college as well. And I think it can just be super inspiring to hear from people who are not too much older than you are right now and just kind of get to see like all these girls doing amazing things. So, yeah, that's really nice to hear from you guys. So, can you guys both share a mentorship moment that's really stuck with you? Maybe a time that you've seen a younger student's confidence kind of grow or change because of your guidance.
Yeah, this just happened like a week ago. So at the very beginning of First Lego League, the first meeting is like we just want to see like who talks to who so we can like make teams. There was one girl who was mostly talking to people like a lot younger than her, almost like babysitting them, which again like isn't a bad thing. She was just shy, but I was really adamant about putting her with a couple of very loud people and there was a little bit of pushback, like, "Why are you putting someone who's really quiet with she's gonna get run over?" But I was like, "No, just trust me." And I ended up mentoring the team that I put her on, and it took her about, like, 3 meetings, so 3 weeks, but on that, third week, 3rd meeting, she started to, like, really come out of her shell, and she started talking to everyone and talking to me, and she was a little bit sassy, which I didn't expect. I That was just, like, really that was a big moment, like, I got her to come out of her shell, and that made me feel really good.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really cool that you were able to help this girl like come out of her shell and feel more, I guess, quote unquote, part of the team because she was able to like voice her opinions and also like tell people her ideas without being shy. And I think the reason that's so valuable is because you were really able to help her grow in the team too and not just, stay where she's comfortable.
Definitely.
Yeah. Alongside there was this one student that we mentored during an FLO camp. Her name was Emma, and she was like, there's like within FLO, there's two like sections. So there's FLO Explore and FLO Challenge. And so FLO Explore is like third grade and under, and then FLL challenge is like 4th grade and above. And then it's like so it was during our FLL Explore camp, and so this little girl, she was, like, 1st grade, and first whenever she first came, she was, again, really shy, and actually, like, just coming in, she, like, cried because she didn't want to leave, like, her mom, like, had to go to work and stuff, and she was like, "No," and she, like, brought her stuffed animals for, like, comfort stuff. So, later, like, me and some of the other mentors, we had, like, talked to her and stuff, and we had gotten her, like, engaged with, like, other kids her age to talk to, and by the end of the week, she left with a smile, and that made me feel really good about it.
Oh, that's really amazing. So, this next section, I guess Vienna will be kind of right up your alley. You guys are also global directors for First Ladies, which is an incredible role. What does being part of that international community mean to you guys personally?
Mainly, it's our mission that we just want to encourage girls and women to pursue a career in STEM and really, like, put that out there because I feel like there are so many people out there that, like, don't think that they're capable of it, and I think that's really important to let people know.
Yeah, definitely. Just to add on to that, I think there's so many stories of girls who they're on like a majority boys team and they're kind of ignored and their voices aren't heard. We've gone to many different regionals where one girl from one team that's majority boys will come up and take a flyer and talk to us about how their team really struggles to get and retain girls on their team. And I think being an all girls team, we're in a really unique position to help with that. And a lot of times, like these boys don't understand fully what they're doing. So, First Ladies is just a way to be mindful of having and retaining and keeping girls engaged on any team, not just all girls teams.
Yeah, and I think for myself personally, I really relate to that because I'm also on an FRC team right now, and I'm the only girl that they've had in many, many years on their team. So I'm really glad that there's organizations and teams like Girls of Steel who are kind of like trying to work towards bringing more girls into STEM and also keeping more girls in STEM because I think that's so valuable. How do you stay connected with other teams around the world, and what kind of collaboration actually happens between you guys?
So, within First Ladies, we have done several different events, whether it was outreach events or like in a way girl talks. So at the FRC regionals, like in the past when as it was the yeah, Greater Pittsburgh Regional, also known as GPR. And it was like during, like, the lunch break, we had flyers, like, sent out to all the teams, and it was like, we had called all the girls to, like, just talk about, like, who we are, what we do, and why it's so important to encourage girls and women in, like, STEM fields. And apart from GPR, we had done other outreach events, like fundraisers for it was, like, for merch and, like yeah, things like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how you guys are able to do so many outreach events to kind of like spread the awareness and like you said, keep advocating early. So that's great. You guys have also hosted panels with female STEM professionals. What's one story or piece of advice from these conversations that's really stuck with you?
I think when I was a freshman, I was really quiet when I was a freshman. I was like nowhere near Vienna. I was really quiet. And I went into one of these panels. And one of the like ladies there, I think she was an aeronautical engineer. She said, like, her best piece of advice is even if you're wrong, it's okay because everyone's going to forget that you were wrong within the next 5 minutes of a conversation. And that really stuck with me because I was always so afraid of being wrong and, like, self-conscious about it, and so if I thought I was wrong, like, internally, I just wouldn't say anything, but hearing that from her, I would just start, like, saying my ideas, and sometimes they would really stick, and sometimes they were really good, and I probably wouldn't have said them if I was really afraid of being wrong, and then sometimes I am wrong, and it's like, who cares? And
Yeah.
yeah, within the next 5 minutes, so I think that I really that stuck with me.
Yeah, I think that's a really valuable piece of advice for anyone, not just in a STEM profession, but really in any field, to just kind of know like everyone will be wrong at times. Everyone will have those moments where, they just think something different or they have an idea and it doesn't work out. But I think it's so important to keep in mind that it happens to everyone and it's just, it's not the end of the world. It's for me, one of the things that I always say is that without failure, you're not going to know what doesn't work. So I think that's one of the best ways to just, kind of eliminate things and just figure out what works and what works best. And a lot of the times you'll never even think of one of the biggest problems with the solution unless you fail. So
Definitely.
so, when you guys think of the future of women in STEM, what do you hope to see change or what kind of change do you want to help create?
Do you want me to go first or do you want me to? Yeah. Okay. That's a really good question. I think I want a world in which women are taken just as seriously and their ideas are considered just as equally as like male's ideas. Because there's so many times that I've said something in a co-ed environment and then a guy says the exact same thing and it's like, wow, that was such a good idea, as if I didn't just say it. That it's like my pet peeve. But
Yeah.
in a world where our ideas are taken equally and we're recognized for being equally as capable and equally as intelligent as men, I think is like the dream point of equality for me.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think that's definitely one of my biggest pet peeves too is, when you have the exact same idea, but it kind of comes across very differently, whether it's from a female or male. So I definitely agree with that, having an environment where the ideas are just seen as equal or people, like you said, take you just as seriously when it's coming from a female versus a male. So yeah, I could not agree more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with Sophia. And actually, a similar example is one of our mentors. Her name is Sarah, and in the past, she worked for the government, and she was like in this one program and it was like coding, and like she worked with like computers, and there was like coding, and she was the only girl at this in this program, and it was like she was looked at differently, and all her ideas were, like, always shut down by these other, like, guys, even if it were, like, the same exact idea, and I think that's what really encouraged her to, like, start Girls to Steal because it she wanted her voice to be heard and others.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I love how diverse your guys' outreach is. You guys have done several projects like Meat Boops to the Chassis Project to the Lego workshops. How did these ideas come about and what do you love most about running them?
So the chassis project is our first initiative because the traditional outreach event for FRC teams is you bring your robot to an event center and you just show it off to people. It's a great outreach event, but it's not very interactive. You're not going to know how to use a socket driver, things like that, just
Mhm.
from looking at a robot. So she's actually one of our order mentors, Andy, helped create it's basically an FRC chassis.
It's, like, smaller. I helped out with
Yeah.
this year's recently with a program called Jada Gems, within Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's, like, a smaller version of an FRC chassis, just for making it a little more portable and also for, like, middle school kids to be able to, like, build it within 2 hours or so.
Yeah, and I think the best part about the chassis project is you can bring it to a 10-person, really intensive workshop. I don't know how many kids were at Jada Gems?
It was, like, 10 or
Yeah,
15.
10 or 15. So it's intensive. Everyone, we bring two, you split them into groups, and then they fully work on just building the chassis and then doing some simple wiring with it. Or if you have a big convention, for example, we're doing an event at the Heinz History Center. We're at one of the booths. In that case, you have so many people coming by that
Mhm.
it just doesn't make sense to be intensive. So you can have each person do a little part of it, work on a little bit of it until, they're done and they move on to the next one. So that's my
Yeah.
favorite part about the chassis project.
It makes it more, like, engaging for, like, especially with younger kids too, to make it a little more interesting and get them, like, involved.
100%.
Yeah.
And speak of younger kids, we noticed with the chassis project that it's difficult for a lot of younger kids to follow just because the instructions are very, like, detailed and
Mhm.
kids are very, like, distracted. So we made meat boops, which are it's like a stick figure, but a robot, and you can rivet the head, body, and legs all together. So it's really easy to assemble, and you can obviously, you do it with help because there's, like, drills involved, but after, like, the kids draw a smiley face on it and they take it home. So that's meant
Aw. Mhm.
3rd to 3rd, like, 2nd to 4th graders, I would say. A couple people who are, like, younger. And then LEGO workshops are, like, our most recent creation, I think within the past 2 years, which we have, like, one kit that's a windmill kit, and you deposit, like, these, like,
Cargo.
yeah, these cargos, and you can motorize it so the windmills can spin, and it uses, like, really simple gear ratios, and they're also really portable because it's just Legos, so we take that everywhere, but the concepts are, like, a little bit more advanced, like, gear ratios and stuff wouldn't be understood by, let's say, like, a 2nd to 4th grader,
Mhm.
so we also use those for middle school kids, but because they're smaller and easier to transport, we tend to use them for underserved communities if we go to, like, a community center, for example.
Mhm. Yeah, that's amazing. I love how all of these outreach programs are really meant to just be super engaging with the community. I think that's also super important because, you know, there's one thing to see people in these positions and doing these STEM workshops and such, and then there's another to actually be doing it and getting this hands-on experience. And I think that's a really great way to help grow passion within students in the community. So I love that. What's one outreach project that you've personally led that you're really proud of?
Um, I have a, like, bigger ones. When I was a sophomore, I had gone to India to just for, like, family purposes, but while I was there, I noticed a lot of, like, inequality. Long story short, I wanted to, like, try out, like, an event that we had done before. I wanted to make, like, a simpler version of LEGO workshops, so I could teach it to a lot of underserved kids in, like, Indian public schools. And those public schools, they shove, like, 80 kids in a room, like, 3 kids to a desk, so there was no way that it was gonna be completely interactive, so I really just tried my best. So basically what I would do in, like, the classroom is I would talk about, like, the basics of what a robot is, different, like, simple machine designs. I made, like, an origami paper claw, and it almost works like your arm, like, you've tendons, so if you pulled, like, a tendon, which is just like a string, one of the fingers of the claw would contract, so I passed that around to them, and I did something similar with, like, I used to make a lot of Lego scissor lifts in FLL, so I recreated that, but with popsicle sticks, and so basically when you just contract it, it would lift up, so I made that too, and I showed that to them, and then we played, like, a pseudocoding game, and that was enough to, like, get their attention and keep them engaged.
Yeah.
So I would, leapfrog from school to school, and here we always say, like, quality over quantity. We don't care how many people we reach as long as every person we reach gets an interactive, hands-on STEM education. So I made sure that, like, every single school that I went to, I would go back at least, like, 2 times, and they would call me back multiple times. So I would go there, and eventually, by the end of that summer, and this past summer, was able to teach 2,500 kids, and I was actually
Wow.
able to get me, along with Girls of Steel, published in Maharashtra Times, which is, the biggest journal in Maharashtra, which is the state that I did the project in. So that was definitely very cool and very memorable because I saw so many kids, especially girls there that, like, I saw myself in, so it's definitely a very, like, humbling moment for me.
Yeah, and I think what you did is so incredible because that's not just something that's gonna stick with them, in the moment, but that's definitely something that's gonna stick with them for a long time, and, like, you've definitely sparked passion in so many students who might not have seen STEM as an opportunity that they were looking to pursue before, but that's absolutely incredible.
Thank you, and yeah, after there were a lot of people that, followed Girls of Steel after and were like, "We're really
That's
interested in
amazing.
robotics now," so it definitely changed a few minds on careers.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, what did you take away from connecting with students and teaching students in such a different environment?
I think it made me better at, like, future outreach events, mentoring and carrying those out just because when you teach that many people, like, you can't talk to every one of them. Like, we try to talk to everyone we run an outreach event with. We try to make conversation with those kids, but when you're teaching, like, 100 in a room, it's hard to find, like, personal moments with them. So there was one girl that she was very confident and calm, and which is like pretty rare to see like in these schools in such a big class. And so I definitely like savored any personal moment I could get with anyone, especially that girl. And I saw myself in her. So now I really try, like during first Lego League mentoring, I really try and make like personal connections and try to like almost be friends with the students that I'm mentoring, just because I really want to have a lasting impact on them, and I think the best way to do that is just personally connecting with them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you definitely did have a lasting impact on a lot of people when you were teaching them robotics concepts and just STEM concepts in general. So that's incredible. But what's one lesson that that project has taught you about how engineering or just STEM in general can kind of, I guess, drive social change?
Honestly, the best when you're in an underserved community, the people that are going to make the most amount of change in that community would not be me, who's not in that community. It would be the people that are in that community gaining the skills and resources to rise up and benefit their community as a whole. So, me just going there was trying to be like the first domino almost, and that I want to provide the base education and the base resources for these kids to be able to go and educate themselves. And maybe it won't be all of them or even like 10 of them. Maybe it would just be two people. And those two people get that education and they come back to their community and then they uplift their community. Because when you are a part of a community, you have trust and you have relatability. And those are two things that I did not have as a girl with an American accent speaking to a bunch of these kids, but they do. They have that relatability. So I just wanted to be the spark for them, and I think that's just the most important thing about what I did.
Yeah, 100%. And that actually reminds me about something that I heard, I think, in another podcast. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was saying something about how the most important thing about you driving social change is to actually instill the ability to drive that social change within the community itself, just like you said. And I think that's so valuable because, there's there's so much impact that you can make in a community, but from there on, eventually, like for you, you had to leave India and come back, and so you were able to drive that passion in those people in that community who can now do the same for other people. So I think that's incredible. But Vienna, how about you? What's an outreach event that you were personally proud of leading?
So one of our most recent ones, it was actually a chastity project, and it was based here in Pittsburgh, and we had reached out to the Jada Gems program, and we had impacted um around like 15 girls, middle school girls from 6th grade up to 8th grade. And these girls, they haven't had too much like hands-on experience with robotics or like technology. And at first I had ran this event. It was me and one of our other Girls of Steel members. Her name is Avery. And we've done this outreach event in past years before, and we get called back every time. And it's a lot of fun. And basically, at first, we basically explain who we are and what we do and what FIRST is. And then we had really got into like the hands-on experience with splitting up like the robot instructions in the two parts, and we had like encouraged the girls to split into two groups to build like two halves of the robot, and then they would come together to put it together, and then they all had a chance to also drive the robot. And due to the time crunch, they couldn't like it was pre-coded, but they all got turns to like drive it around. And certain of like the girls that were at the event, they they didn't have like too much hands-on experience from the past, and so one of the, things that we had mentioned to them were, like, the different job opportunities that they could look into, like, for the future, and, yeah, I think that was, like, really inspirational, since they were, like, such a young group.
Yeah, and I think it's super important to, bring this passion just like you guys are doing for younger girls because I think a lot of the times, especially for younger girls, it can be easy to look at STEM and kind of think, like you were saying earlier, like this is a field for boys and this is something that I'm not interested in. So I think kind of shifting from that mindset at a really early age is just so important and can just have such a domino effect in all of their future endeavors as well. So yeah, that's amazing. So, you guys have introduced over 3,000 kids to robotics through all of these programs, which is incredible. Is there one story or a moment from an event that, you're always kind of proud of or that makes you smile when you think about it?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the event that I'm most proud of was the first event that I ever championed. So Girls of Steel has a thing called the champion credit, which is every girl that is ninth to 12th grade that's on the first robotics team has to plan, lead, and execute one event and then document it for like impact purposes. So the first event that I ever led was also a chassis project, and it was at the Carnegie Science Center. And it was the first time that I actually led something myself and was responsible for like making sure something actually happened and went through. And at the time, it was very stressful. I had to manage. It was a longer event, so we had like different shifts. So I had to manage people coming and going. There were some people who forgot shirts. I had to like quickly get them shirts. And it was very chaotic, but there was one kid that was sitting, like, in a corner and was, like he was, like, maybe 5 years old, and he was playing chess, and he was really, really good, and we got him to, like, come over to our booth, and he was playing chess with me and my other friend while we were teaching him how to build the chassis project, and he was telling us what moves, like, we should make, and then we were telling him, how to, like, drill stuff, and I thought that, like, that was really, like, cute, like, he was teaching us something and, like, we
Yeah.
learned something, so that's probably, like, my favorite thing that I've done.
Yeah, that's really nice, that you guys were able to teach each other something new. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, so one of our outreach events from last year, it was called the Google Girls event. And we had reached out to the Google like headquarters. It was based at the headquarters that is near the Girls of Steel warehouse. And it was a mix of like, so we had actually collabed with another team, another FRC team. Um, wait, it was named like,
Grayson?
no, start with an S. It was like red. It was like Spartans.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that
it
sounds right.
was another FRC team named the Spartans, and we had it was and yeah, so it was pretty long, and basically we had taught them how to build not only build, but also code a spike robot from, like, the spike kits, and then we had used, like, the games from past years that they could complete different missions, and there were these 2 girls that I, like, actually became friends with, um, one of them her name was Gemma, and then the second girl who they were siblings. Second girl was Emily. And so they both at first, they were, like, kind of shy and they were, like, on their phones at first. But later when I got them, like, involved and really engaged, and I was like, "Oh, maybe you could try this," and then helping them out with different things that they had got, like, stuck on. At the end, they really enjoyed it, and yeah.
Actually, I think one of the girls at the event she's talking about, not those 2 girls specifically, she actually goes to my school, I found that out later, and she really enjoyed, like, the event. She's, like, interested in STEM now, and I
That's amazing.
met her, like, a lot later, which was a really cool connection.
Yeah, and that must be also such a proud moment for you guys to really see that you're making that impact, and now that there's another girl who's interested in STEM, so that's really cool. But, your data science team on your team presented at Carnegie Mellon and even got published in the Wharton Sports Analytics Journal, which is a huge accomplishment. What was that experience like as high school students?
I wasn't personally on the research team, but my friend was, so, like, I'm speaking from her perspective. Getting published, like, the idea of it is really, really stressful because you think there's so many things that go into, like, writing a paper, and they were involved in all of those steps. But honestly, like, the idea, it came from, like, just watching matches, and we would watch like, these people would watch scouting, they were scouters, and they would see certain teams get picked, and they would be like, "That doesn't make any sense, like, for what that team is good at, why would you pick someone with, like, these qualifications?" Like, it was usually that the better team was ranked a little bit lower, but because the other team was ranked higher, they'd get picked, and that was just an observation they had, and so it led them to the question, does your rank in a competition correlate to how good you are for a pick? And if not, what's the best, most like scientific way to determine who to pick when you're scouting based on what your robot is good at? So they developed a type of technology to actually track different games, and they collected a bunch of data from previous matches. They analyzed it, and I think they made a machine learning model based on that. And with the help of some of our mentors, all of our mentors are Carnegie Mellon undergraduates or graduate students or alumni. So
PhDs.
yeah, PhD students. So they were very helpful in the process, and they kind of walked them through step by step of how to write the paper. So it wasn't like a huge, big, scary thing. Yeah, we were published in the UPenn School of Wharton Journal, which is crazy to
That's
say.
incredible.
Yeah, it was a huge thing for us.
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic too that they wrote the paper on. Is that technology something that you guys use now in season?
I think we're currently trying to implement it in our scouting, yes.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's really cool that you guys were able to create that technology yourselves as a part of your team. And now it was published too, which is again, congratulations for that. So
Mm.
yeah. So do you ever feel like as a part of the Girls of Steel Robotics that you're proving that high school robotics can be just as innovative as the professional engineering world?
I actually this is a little more personal for me now that I'm a little bit older. I have a couple friends that are, like, a little bit older than me. One is at Purdue, one is at, UIUC, and one is at Penn State. They're all, engineering majors. And I think the biggest thing that shocked them, it's like engineering is, like, really scary, like, you have physics and, like, a bunch of technical classes, and it's really difficult, but they actually found that they knew how to do a lot of the hands-on things because FRC is actually a very, like, realistic application of
Yeah.
engineering in the real world, which I guess we didn't fully internalize until, like, they started doing it, and now they do, like, our 3D and Formula 1 team stuff, and they use almost everything that they learn on FRC and they apply it there, so it's really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think a lot of the times, just like you said, it's hard to internalize early on that the things that you're doing in high school can be really applicable in the real world too. And it just can help you a lot in the professional world when you're applying for jobs or stuff like that as well. Yeah. And as we're kind of closing off, when younger girls see Girls of Steel, what do you hope they see or feel within themselves?
You want it? Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that that they can see or that they feel a little more confident in themselves and they believe hey, I can do this. And I think that at first things may come off as scary or hard and sometimes even from me, I feel like I might give up without even trying, but I think with the right environment and support, you can go a long way.
Yeah,
I
100%.
think yeah, that was almost exactly what I was gonna say, so I'll add on to that by saying I hope that they see that, like, we're not perfect in any regard, but our confidence in ourselves and our belief in ourselves, and again, like, the support that we have, all of those things are what take us to being the team we are and doing how well that we do, and I hope I hope they try and replicate that kind of environment in their own communities.
Yeah.
So, and if each of you could say one thing to a girl who's curious about STEM but not sure that she belongs in that environment, what would you tell her?
I'd say, like, just put yourself out there and just, like, try it out, and, I mean, hey, if it's not, like, for you, that's okay, but it's better than not trying at all and just quitting, like, without having, like, that experience and just, like, assuming because you like, who knows, you may actually might really like it, and you might be, like, your passion.
Yeah. This is really cliche, but don't be afraid to, like, make mistakes. Don't be afraid to mess up, you know, drill a hole in something you're not supposed to, you cut a wire, like, it's not you can always fix it, like, there's always solder somewhere, like, you can always fix your mistakes, and if you keep trying, eventually you'll have, like, little successes that eventually build up to something big, and again, like, if that's not for you, if you don't have any satisfaction from it, that's okay, but at least you can tell yourself that you tried and you gave it your all and you know it's not for you versus, like, I'm, like, unsure, but I'm too scared to try.
Yeah, definitely. And finally, if you guys could go back and give your younger selves one piece of advice, what would you say?
You can go
Okay.
first.
Be confident, like, just speak your mind. It's not the end of the world to say something and be completely wrong, like, even if, like, someone laughs at you, like, who cares? They're gonna forget in 5 minutes, you're gonna forget in maybe 10, and you'll move on. It's always better to express your opinion and it be wrong than have a really, really good idea, but you're just too scared to say it and it goes unnoticed because those little ideas that some people throw in can be really, really helpful and can really like take you and whatever you're doing to the next level. Also, include like the people that aren't talking as much. Include, try and get the people that are really loud to let the quieter people talk because there will be a day where you open up, you come out of your shell too, but you have to make sure that you let those other people that haven't come out of their shell yet express their opinions too.
Yeah, and to kind of just add on to what you just said about expressing your opinions and your ideas, even if you might be wrong, I think a lot of the times it's easy to look at your own idea and think, wow, like, why hasn't someone else thought of this yet? Like, this must not be a good idea. But I think one of the biggest things that I would say is for me personally, I would rather say that idea and or speak my mind rather than, just be quiet and not express that idea because I think it's just like you said, it's also very valuable to be wrong because you're always learning something every single time that you're wrong or every time an idea doesn't work. So, yeah, I love that.
Definitely.
For me, I think something I would have told myself when I was younger, or even now that I would still follow, is just like, don't don't care what other people think because I think that, like, having that mindset, like, really holds you back and that, like, really makes, like, a negative impact on, like, your potential and, like, what you're truly capable of. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, thank you both so much for being here and hearing how much heart and effort you guys all put into everything that you do is so inspiring. And it's really clear that Girls of Steel is not just building robots, but you're also building so many new opportunities for so many younger girls and just opening so many doors for these girls in STEM. So thank you guys both so much for being here and sharing about your team.
Yeah, thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Who's team in on this podcast.
Thank you. This has been great. Once again, I'm your host, Emma Zareen, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the She Persists podcast.